away from the subject of entertainment and branch off a little bit into self-awareness. I think a lot of Black Americans, we can relate to the subject that Black Americans were always being racially profiled. So with that being said, we're oftentimes the oppressor instead of the oppressed, and we're stereotyping each other. So if African Americans speak eloquently, why is he considered white? Why is success considered white? In order to climb the corporate ladder, you have to act white. Is that right? Or is that just the way it is? Why are they considered sellouts? And what can be done to combat the self-destructive mindset?
I think the biggest problem in Black America today is hate. Black on black jealousy and hate. The vitriol and the resentment that we feel for one another is a big problem. When you look at the #1 killer of Black males in America, it's not diabetes, it's not heart disease, it's hate. Okay? And we saw that in the Obama election. We saw that with people who were in a position to know better. I'll give you an example. We know about Bobby Rush. When Bobby Rush was going against Barack Obama in that earlier election, and he was told in 2000, he was basically criticized Obama for being educated at an Ivy League school, criticized Obama for living in Hyde Park. And then we had Andrew Young, who took it a step further, took the ignorance a step further, and decided that he was going to say that Barack should wait because Hillary was married to Bill, and that Bill was blacker than Barack because Barack had been with more, or Bill had been with more black women. He also said that Bill should win the election, or Hillary should win the election because Bill did the electric slide at a dance, at a party for Nelson Mandela in South Africa. So some of these same people, okay, in the same breath of making these statements, some of these same people will speak out about our youth. And what they'll say is, they'll pull out the acting white phenomenon, which was studied at Harvard University by a young African-American economics professor who found that there is a social penalty for high grades. The higher your grade point average is, the less popular you are. In the Hispanic community, your popularity actually increases the lower that it gets, as it starts to get lower from a C+. The question is, where are we learning this from? And when you look at our civil rights, some of our civil rights leaders, there you go. They're teaching our community, not everyone, but some of the specific people that I mentioned, they're teaching our young people that it's not black to excel. These are examples that are reinforced every day in our community. And, I write about this a lot in my book because I had to go to Fort Worth, Texas, to the funeral of a young athlete named Darren Williams when he was killed while he was celebrating in Denver after his last game with the Denver Broncos at 24 years old, and he was celebrating with his friends. He wasn't doing anything wrong. And when they left that club, there were 14 shots fired into that limo. They killed that young man. And the next day in the media, it was portrayed as if this young man was surrounded by gangsters when these were his friends from home. But one of the guys was in a master's degree program at the time. And he said, I sat there and I watched this on TV. My friend had just been murdered, and I started to wonder, do they even know who I am? There were black people on the air too talking this. So my point is that these images are things that we perpetuate. When Bill Cosby gets up in front of an audience and says that black athletes can't read, well, that's not entirely true. Tiki Barber can't read. I think he can read pretty well. He's on the Today Show every day. And the problem with these broad generalizations is they make us almost like a self-hatred kind of thing kicks in. And we have to be emphatic about protecting our image. And you know what? Before we can talk about white people and what they've done to us, we have to look at home.
You don't need to be a lawyer. Why don't you pick something that's more, in tune with your race? Why don't you become a carpenter? Because Jesus was a carpenter. That threw him into the cycle, the downward cycle that he ended up being in. And you have to understand that we're no longer having white teachers telling us this. We're telling it to each other. We're embracing the ignorance and saying, you don't need that. You're straight. Oh yeah, I like the way. Here's what kills me is I would think, and this is just me. We have a lot of hip hop impresarios up on the panel. If you are going to be an artist, going to be a wordsmith, isn't it important for one to learn words? It seems pretty simple. In order to be a phenomenal artist or wordsmith, you have to be well-versed